from our last meeting, which was June 17th. So everybody had a chance to look that over? Anything that needed to be changed, amended? Someone might,
Well, I wanted to wait until we actually got to the meeting to be sure, but I've heard through the grapevine that the Wolf is retired. So we will need to discuss his replacement. I wasn't sure if he was going to come and say farewell or not, so I left that open, but.
I have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
No. I'll second.
Can I have your names, please? I'm sorry, I can't read. And,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Anna.
Okay, I think we're ready for the Indiana State Library report.
Okay.
If you're ready.
I am. Let me just, the recording is going to show this slide instead of us. So, just a second. All right. First, I just wanted to follow up with some of the things you guys talked about and voted on last meeting. The executive committee has approved all of the changes you made to Patron and Circ matrices. So we're in the process of implementing those. It is quite a process. A couple of them were more complicated than I thought they were going to be. So it's we're getting all of that ironed out so that we'll make sure that it's being implemented the way we intended it to be implemented. The manual billing types went up right after the last meeting, and I got a lot of positive feedback from libraries. Did you guys get any feedback from your staff?
Love it.
Anybody heard you guys missed something?
No.
No?
I think there is something that we might
consider.
Yes, and I'll email you about that.
Okay.
Yeah, because the other day the children's librarian said, "Oh, there's nothing on there for this," and I was like, "Oh, that would be a good idea." So I'll email you.
I know the shorter list looks so much nicer.
Yes.
You have to wade through stuff.
It does.
So that's gone well, and it seems like I'm seeing fewer miscellaneous bills come through, and things are getting targeted. So. The new conversions happened 3 weeks ago now, and we are still working with a few libraries to deal with some of the duration issues, because with the update, it did not change their duration set. If they had a non-default duration, there was sometimes an unexpected jump in circ time. But I have made a template available. I sent it out on the reports listserv. That libraries can use to check and make sure that everything's been assigned the appropriate circulation duration. And if they want to go back and fix things, it makes it so you can dump it in a single screen and update them all at once. Have you had any experiences from your libraries that you want to share with that process? No? All going well? Okay, excellent. I know a lot of libraries were doing it already, so it was more of a cleanup for most libraries. And then the other big thing we've got going on right now are the roundtables. I've seen lots of you already at roundtables. So far we've had the Central and the Northwestern meetings. Almost 30 libraries have participated so far, so that's excellent. Especially this last one, it was not the greatest of weather. made traveling a bit challenging, but everybody came and getting lots of great contributions, and I really appreciate all the feedback I'm getting from everyone. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing the rest of you soon at other meetings ahead. Okay, that's the library report.
Okay. Let's move on to unfinished business. I'm not sure what we had left from unfinished business from last time. Was there any?
I did not have any.
Okay. So I guess we'll move on to new business.
Okay. We began to talk about this at the last meeting, but with Sept's management at the same time, and given how much underground, we probably ran out of time to really give it a lot of attention. So I've been talking at the regional roundtables about this already, and these are on-the-fly book club kits, where libraries are bringing in materials, individual materials from around the state, not things that are already built into sets or kits, and then circulating them to their book club groups. There have been a few challenges with that implementation as libraries have done it on the fly. So I've been talking, and at the regionals, I started getting some consistent feedback. So I've started drafting something here to add to the procedures. If you want to go ahead and make a recommendation on this to the EC, we can take it to them in October after the next two roundtables. Alternately, we could wait until your December meeting, until all of the roundtables are complete, and we have feedback from everyone around the state before finalizing anything. But I know there are some libraries that are very anxious to see us get some sort of guidelines in place to help minimize some of the current friction.
Can you tell us like what they are saying so that we have a heads up?
Sure, sure. The underlying issue is that materials are coming in and library brings in 10 copies of a book and on hold to a staff profile, and they never check them out. They bring them in, they put them on their ILL shelf or their book club shelf, and they do paper circulation where the members come in, pick up a copy, bring it back. That's fine, but it's not getting captured by the system. And then when the owning library goes to find that book, it shows that it's been sitting on hold for up to 6 weeks. And it looks like poor management and is very frustrating for libraries, especially if it's a high demand title. One situation I know we talked about so a little bit before was someone did that with some copies of The Fault in Our Stars. And with as much travel time as those materials were needing, holding them an extended period with no circulations caused some friction. But it's happened with some other titles, so I was trying to think what we could do to just come up with a nice framework to help ease that. Do you see other suggestions that we should be making in this text? Concerns? Is it too specific?
I know at our library anyway, we do put No, I know sometimes I don't know. I don't know. It depends.
Well,
It depends on the book club, how often they meet.
I was gonna say, we do that too, and we hold them until the day of their discussion. And then cancel them after their meeting is over.
Mm-hmm.
But would you guess like 3, 6, 8 weeks or maybe even longer? I mean, we don't do that, so that's why I'm asking. I'm just kind of trying to think it through.
Well, we only do a month before, so.
Onto her book club book.
Okay.
And then they said to to override it and check it out to them.
Yeah.
And then they're
Their
100% responsible for that, and we don't have to.
But if it's already checked out to your card, you could force a circulation.
Yes.
Yes.
On the patrons.
Yes.
And then it wouldn't just sit on your whole shelf, it would still at least have one circulation, it would still be serving a purpose.
Yes. Yes. Ours still gets the circulation, but then if it doesn't get picked up by a patron, it will just sit there checked out on the book club card, waiting for a book club person to come check it out, themselves. But it could sit there, or she usually puts them out. Like, say she discusses it this Friday, so she'll put them out this Friday, and then it'll sit there until the following. So it'll sit there, it's probably checked out on her card for about 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks.
Is the problem is not the long checkout, if I understand it correctly, it's the sitting on the hold shelf?
Yeah, without being
Without being
checked out.
Kind of all of it.
Oh, it's all of it.
So it's like the entire process.
I would like to see some consistent rule that all of us follow, because even in my own library, my adult library does one thing for her adult group, and my teen librarian does what you do, and then the adult librarian does a totally different thing herself, so we're not even consistent in my library, so I would like, to have one set of rules, and then I say, look, this is the way it is, so
Yeah, instead of
Both
best
follow,
practices,
yeah.
actual
if
procedure.
everybody comes up with their own way of doing things, then everybody's, this is the way it is, we all do it this way, kind of thing. And that's the way it is, so then everybody's not going off doing their own thing. But if we could come up with something that would make everyone happy, which is realistic, but.
Majority rule, something that.
Make the majority happy.
What makes it even more complicated is sometimes you get the books through Evergreen, sometimes you get them through Interlibrary Loan, sometimes you get them through Indiana Humanities. So you need to have set procedures.
So I think that
for all
should
of them.
only apply to when you're dealing with Evergreen
Evergreen,
copies.
yeah.
The rest of that
But I
is-
mean, with that,
Yeah,
there's
sure.
so many ways already that we're doing it, hard to,
And if
which way are we?
would use common sense, like the Faulkner Stars book, it's popular, don't use that book right now. If there's a movie out, and that probably, that's wonderful, but that probably isn't a great choice for right now for, everybody would love to do that book, so that,
3,000 copies.
but I'm just saying,
If you renew it, and it doesn't renew because of holds, you can move it on.
Exactly.
winter. They may hit schools during fall and winter, and
So they get
kids camps in summer.
We're saying they get returned out of Bookmobile also,
Typically, but
That's
they wouldn't
not-
have to.
Yeah, that
because
part's
they can
not
check in with no
necessary.
fees, like they do the check-in.
That's what a lot of them are doing right now. They're doing things in amnesty mode, but that actually could impact your cert fines. Because if they're checking in materials that they received back via amnesty mode that the patron went to your library and circulated, then you're losing money. If we just tie it to the outgoing circulation, then it's just the circulation fines that would be accruable to the library that owns the bookmobile.
How would we do that?
He can make it work.
Okay. I didn't think that was possible.
Oh, yeah, it is.
We don't need the
It's just-
details.
Yes, no, you can do it.
After lunch, if anyone needs lull to sleep.
Libraries handle their homebound patrons.
A lot of them,
Are they fine free also?
they try to be.
Okay,
Because
so
they're outraged.
outrage, so why would you handle this sort of the same way? Because I know when we go to nursing homes and things, sometimes, we don't always get our materials back on the same day because sometimes the nursing home can't find them in the rooms, and different things. I mean, we try to renew them and different things happen. So, sometimes with the bookmobiles, the weather may affect things, your driver may be sick. I mean, just things happen at the library, you don't have a driver that day or thing. I mean, I can see all kinds of scenarios, so I
Well,
don't see a problem.
I don't see a problem with making the outreach profile fine-free either, but in some cases, especially at schools, those kids may have a resident card at the main branch, so it wouldn't be just outreach patrons necessarily.
I like the idea. The only concern I have is that, let's say a customer did place a hold on my materials, it was delivered by the book club, there's just less of an incentive for them to return it. That's the only thing I think of off the top.
Would it be publicized? Fine free. I mean, I think if we're not publicizing it, I mean, they're not going to notice the impact of it, really.
Yeah.
So.
And like I say, several of the bookmobiles already have something in place where they're just doing this manually.
Right. We don't have a book.
We
so
do.
I guess we're
I mean,
kind of, I mean.
Any
Thank God.
bookmobile
Yeah.
fines that we see on a patron's card, we waive those fines. If they return the bookmobile materials to the main library and they get checked in with fines, then we'll waive those fines.
Okay.
I mean, but all the bookmobile materials get checked in amnesty mode, so. And the bookmobile patrons are it's pretty much always the same people, and they know that they're not gonna get bookmobile fines, yeah.
Well, and not all of the bookmobiles will actually bring transits out.
Okay.
So for some, it's seriously just what they've got on their bus.
Yeah.
It's nothing else.
That was my next question. Do you deliver holds?
We do, we do.
Is it a lot?
No,
Two?
no, it's not that many.
I'm thinking LaGrange might be one that actually does that more. Their bookmobile services a large Amish community. Actually, probably more than one. And I know they're very, very big users of those materials. But I've heard that they go to great lengths to make sure they get their books back, so.
I don't have an objection.
Okay. Is this something we want to
Move on?
move
That
on
would be
today?
great.
Okay, do I have a motion to make bookmobiles fine free?
I'll make a motion, Bookmobile's fine free.
I'll second.
Okay. Oh, do we all have to vote? Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Very good. Sorry.
Everybody just stare at me until I do something. I sat there in a meeting, you'd think I would like get this, but I've never been in charge of one, so sorry. Okay, so we on to the next.
Okay. I've actually had some patrons contact me about this one, in addition to hearing from community staff about reintroducing the patron option for unfillable holds. And that would, if a patron puts a hold on an item that they can't get currently, there'd be a button that they could push, when the error message comes up that says they still want to try to put the hold on, in hopes that at some point in the future this item will be made available to them. What are your thoughts?
Can they not do that with items now that are on 6-month hold protection?
Right now, only staff can do that. That's what's causing or bringing this up.
The same override basically applies to items that can't transfer because of age protection.
I think it's really an issue of either wording or imaging or something, because we had a lot of people who, the button came up and they just kept pushing the buttons until it said, okay, your hold is ready. And then they'd come in and they'd be really surprised that we'd say, well, no, it could be 5 to 6 months until it's, it's going to transit here. And they'd be like, but it said it was okay. And we'd be like, because it doesn't, I don't know if we need like something bright red or flashing. What it is we need, but something that says,
Or
yes.
something that a 5-year-old can understand.
Yeah. It can be the wording, I can't remember it right now, but it just basically said, this isn't really possible, but you can just override it. And I think they thought that you can just override it means, oh yeah, sure, go right ahead, versus like you're just gonna wait. And I think maybe if we just change the wording, or because some people just like they want it and they don't mind waiting. They just would like to know that they're going to be waiting versus thinking that it should show up in a.
I know that one of the things at our library when somebody's requesting something that's new, we don't own it yet. We may do an override to set on a 6-month holdable item, but we also forward that information to the collection developer to know that something's needed. So if the patron is able to bypass that step, we won't know what our patrons want that's new to purchase.
You can run
a report for
Yes. There's a canned report for that, isn't there?
I don't know what all the canned ones are.
There's a holds ratio report that you can run. It's actually, you don't need a template or anything. It's
So it
just
says
built
what
in.
new things are that patrons have, we've
Yeah,
forced
where
to
you've
hold
got a
on.
lot of holds.
Not necessarily a lot of holds, maybe just 1 or 2 holds that are waiting for the Evergreen 6-month release, but maybe our librarian would purchase it. So I don't mean.
I can email you. I have mine run every day,
Okay.
and I get it if anything has more than 1 hold. And we're not that big, so I get maybe 50, and some of them I can just skim off the top because it's book club or whatever. And then I just look for the items that have a name.
But you said it's more than 1 hold.
1 or more holds. So I see basically everything.
Oh, okay.
But it lets you, because it gives you the date the hold was placed, and it also, I believe, gives you the date that the item was added, or like at least the year that the book was published. So you kind of can go through and be like, okay, this is 1987. I don't need to worry about that. And this is 2014. Let me go look at
It
it.
lets me know that we don't own it yet.
I don't know. It says holds.
It says So this is something we need to proceed with today?
We can.
Okay. Sorry, I'm very cryptic in what I'm asking.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would that be for DVDs too?
Well, it would
Yes.
let them, but then the hold would just time out and go away because they have like a 9-month expiration date.
Is there a
Unless your
way?
library bought a copy, and then they would be already on the list of stores.
I put in a DVD and we didn't put the 6-month hold on it because I assumed it wouldn't. And all of a sudden, we were getting holds from other libraries on it.
That's usually tied to strictness.
Yeah,
Usually
something
there's
else is wrong there.
something happens, But
Yeah.
if that happens again, let me know.
I know that my
I just
library,
wondered if they did something.
my library doesn't like when we set 6-month hold on movies. They get upset with us because they have a paper list of holds that have been requested on not purchased items yet, that they want to put those holds in first before the on-order holds. Yeah.
So is there a way when you, if you were to like make it so patrons could do the unfillable holds, to tell them, like if it's, you know, like a new book or this is a DVD, you really, there's no point in doing that?
We don't, that message
Would it
really
be able to
doesn't
specify
have,
that?
it doesn't really have access to any information. It just
Okay.
says, okay, show that you can't place the hold message, and that's what we get. And in the past, we've tried to explain every possible reason you couldn't place this hold, and once you get a wall of text, they just glance.
People don't read it.
But if we could come up with something relatively short-winded, and it's something else, just a sentence or two, can we integrate that?
Yeah, I mean, you have complete control over the message, we just can't choose from like 6 different things to show
Yeah.
people.
Or like, if you would like to know more information, ask your friendly librarian.
Good.
You just try to
That's branding, Jeffrey, got it.
friendly.
Drive it home. We're
That's
all
right, that's
friendly.
right. I was just teasing, I know. Just kidding.
So if we can come up with something that's more user-friendly for the error message, or at least the warning. You guys think it would be a good idea to go ahead and get this back in place?
Maybe it could be highlighted in a different color or something while it's in their hold list. So that they
That we absolutely can't do.
Bill did. Highlight bills.
Oh my God.
No.
Yeah, we didn't do that. So,
We table it till next time? Is that what we're
are we
doing?
tabling it or are we
I
voting?
didn't know. We voting?
Someone want to make a motion?
Motion on.
Well, we would be re-implementing the unfillable patron side holds with updated message.
I'll make a motion to do that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All righty.
I'm not sure if the next one takes a lot of action, but I'm trying to bring it up at every meeting I go to, and that is, I received notice from someone on this committee.
Me.
Yeah.
It was me.
That there's been an increase in people not following the transit procedures correctly, so when you talk to other libraries, I appreciate you reminding them that we don't tape to the front materials.
Or the outside of the package when you open it up.
We do
Basically,
actually
no
have,
taping.
yeah, we actually have a really good set and extended set of instructions on how to package transits and transit slips, so. If you have something in your library, try to help out. Take 5.
Like if it's damaged material or lost returned, sometimes they tape that so it doesn't get lost and thrown away with the transit slip.
I don't think that's the best practice unless it's like a Post-it note, like that, you know, that glue and that, because I mean, some people were using like heavy duty book tape and then it's ripping covers and you don't want to do things like that. But I think if it's like Post-it note strength, I don't think that's going to hurt anything.
You're not talking about repairs, right?
No, I'm talking about books that we've gotten some things in from transit that have been damaged. Maybe they've gone through different libraries before they got to us.
Oh, okay.
So making a note of that.
Yeah, and sending it back.
Probably kind of depends on how far gone it is. I mean, if it's,
Just put it in a plastic bag. Keep all the pieces together.
I rubber band one completely because the paperback book totally fell apart. I had so many rubber bands on that thing trying to hold it together until it got back to where it's supposed to go.
Speaking of damaged materials, what do libraries think when they're sending books that are falling apart for us to actually circulate when we don't circulate books like that in our own library and we receive a book that's coming apart and my staff looks at it and goes, should we repair this? And I'm like, nope, send it back because I'm not touching somebody else's stuff and then have them blame us for something. But I mean, the book is literally falling apart and they send it to us to circulate. And I'm like, what is this? I mean, and things that our library would literally discard comes through our library, and it's like, I don't know what these people are thinking. Seriously.
Well, some people just have a lot smaller budgets and they can't replace things as quickly.
I'm talking that would be like somebody would get somebody's into some Harlequins or something that they, and I don't know. And we just literally send them back. We don't even give them to the patrons because I'm not going to have that person responsible for, and they cannot read it with pages falling out and things, but I think libraries should be a little more responsible when you're sending out materials like that. You should never send that stuff. So,
Is there a possibility though that book was damaged in transit?
I
From the time it left the home library to the time you received it?
I don't know. We've had several that way. I mean, we should just start marking them down because.
well, we'll be talking about this later. But one of the topics that we had discussed before for the fall roundtable was when to let go of materials. Is there areas considered acceptable? And coming up with a unified level of this is okay, this is not.
Well, we
What
just
makes it start.
checked it out and just sent it back and told the patron it was broken badly when it came in, so we're not, we're not gonna hold you responsible for it. But I have had staff say, well, I can repair it. And I'm like, no, because if for some reason they get upset about it, because we repaired it, I don't know, just don't touch it. Put it back in the bag and send it back the way it came, so. I just don't.
I know when we get a shipment in, we visually check everything. And if there is minimal damage, we'll note it with a sticky note in the book, and then it'll go with the book back to the library eventually, we hope. If it's bad enough, I call that library that same day, say what the damage is, and get it transited back to the owning library. The owning library may not have been the last person to see it, and that happens quite often.
Yeah, it is good to have that communication with the owning library, so at least they know why it's coming back to them. And if you were the last one to touch it, they might wonder, well, was it in this state when you had it last?
Usually it's such an old book or a book that I doubt seriously that it's been, you know what I'm saying, like 2 or 3 other libraries before it got to us. I just don't think it's been the case.
So when you send it back to the other library, do you put a note on there? Okay.
Okay. So there wasn't anything we needed to do about transit slip procedures, was there?
Just a reminder to read them
Okay.
and follow them.
So we're to policy and procedure updates.
The first one, you actually have the complete existing fines policies and procedures. I've got recommended additions and revisions attached to reflect the vote of the executive committee on the increasing fine cap on equipment. So because of the way circuit modifiers work, the fine cap, it will be the same on all equipment, whether you choose a high fine or not. So it has a higher cap. I wanted to make sure that that's reflected in the policy. So
I have a question. When the one statement says if they choose to pay by credit card online, they have to pay the whole thing,
Mhm.
does the system make them pay the whole thing?
Mhm.
I need a vote on this one.
Okay. We have time to review it? All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Now we're on to,
I'm sorry, who said that they made the motion?
did you know?
I'm sorry.
Okay, so now to settle expired accounts remotely.
Yes, when I was contacted by a library that was trying, a patron had come in, they had bills, but they wanted to renew their privilege, and the library contacted me saying, if they pay off their bills, can we still renew them? They've got all their documentation. The existing language said that they had to be in good standing to renew remotely. But I would like to add the clause, now that we're passing funds, that if the patron is willing to pay their bill, that brings them back into good standing. So hopefully, libraries are still getting their money.
Okay, the only question I had on this was if the last line in the first paragraph says all of the patron accounts, non-resident, reciprocal borrower, student, can only be renewed at the patron's home library. Non-resident could be changed over to any library. They don't have a home library, correct?
Yes.
So could we take that out?
Well, if you're wanting to renew privilege on the old card, they would have to do it. If you want to issue a new
Okay.
non-resident card, then,
They could do that.
But you could update their account.
yeah, then
To
you
be
have to take
new.
the account to be yours rather than being a
Yes.
renewal.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
That's only slightly confusing.
Where does the flat card user come in now? Is that, that's not a reciprocal borrower? They're actually in as a resident borrower when we,
They have their own classification.
so they have to be done.
I would think if they've renewed their plaque privilege, you would treat them just like a
It wouldn't
resident.
matter.
Right.
It wouldn't matter which library. But what if they also have to purchase? No, we get a lot of people who have to purchase membership somewhere and then buy their plaque.
Mhm.
If all they're showing you is their Evergreen card and their plaque or whatever, you don't always know that they have to purchase their home membership somewhere.
It should be posted in their account where their home library is.
Should be some note or alert.
Yeah. If nothing else, the stat cat should capture that, because we do have the consortium-wide stat cat for plaque home library.
Right, it's at the bottom of the registration page.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay. Now on to the patron merge form.
This has been one of those things that pops up every once in a while. Someone looks at the existing form and says, this is just not intelligible. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. So Barbara and I have gone through it, and I'm like, okay, well, so he and I have been talking about ways to make this a little simpler. And early on, we had a lot more libraries where people had multiple accounts across multiple systems. We're seeing a lot less of that, where it's actually mergeable. More and more, it's a two-card scenario. So we've been talking about simplifying the form. So you'll have in the first column which account you want merged under, which account's going to be your lead, contact information, patron information, And then if the patron happens to have 3, 4, or 5 cards, you would just fill in a new line for each one, rather than having to fill in, this one gets deleted, this one gets deleted, this one's deleted, oh, and this one gets kept. Because right now, that's been a bit confusing. Fortunately, we're not doing it nearly as much. Everybody's cleaned up their records so much, it's happening a lot less, but.
One thing that I have a problem with is emailing a request to merge and never getting a response back.
Mm-hmm.
That happens.
Mm-hmm. That's annoying.
I get one.
Sorry?
I get one back every time.
You know,
Like this has been completed.
When you're contacting the help desk, or when you're contacting the library that's got the other account?
The library that has the other account.
Okay.
I don't always get a response. I don't get a bounce back, but it could be change in staff kind of thing. But how do I know? I only have a contact.
Junk mail thing. But still, I mean, I check my junk mail, so.
Yeah, I check my junk mail.
So do you call them then?
Eventually.
That's frustrating.
Multiple emails. Attention emails.
Is it multiple libraries or mostly?
Just a couple libraries.
Couple.
Yeah. It may have happened 3 times. But it's annoying.
Yes.
You're
Definitely.
waiting, you want to send the whole list.
Is everyone good with this one? It actually is attached, supposed to be attached to our procedures. So it's not currently, I will be adding it back in and making the new form available separately to download, but we're all right with it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll get consensus on that one, because this is procedures.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're on to the internal use profile definitions on the very bottom of the back page.
Yes, this is a profile that is kind of nebulous right now. It has a few settings on it. It does not approve fines. Materials checked out to an internal use card never go lost. They don't get picked up by collections. They can have 100 holds, but they can only hold local materials. That said, it was intended originally for internal staff use, just to manage your collection. You know, you need to put together some story time kits and shove them in the corner for 6 weeks down the line, kind of thing. It's not how all libraries are using them. I've had at least one library that reported to me that they were using the internal use profile to store patrons in bad standing.
Yep.
Didn't want them to expire or something.
Yeah, they.
So they changed their
accounts
profile type to
Yes.
internal use.
Yes. And we've been talking about different possible uses for this profile and whether or not we really need a solid definition. And if so, what would you like incorporated into it?
I was unaware of this book.
Yeah.
How long is the checkout period for this account?
Years.
Years, that's what I thought. Okay, many years.
Because there isn't a good way to say, because originally, this is our fault at Seymour, originally on our Cersei system, we could have this account type that never got fines or things marked lost, but it did still get late notices. It was used for outgoing ILL. That way, the system would let you know, hey, this book that you sent to wherever is late coming back, and you could bill them, contact them, do whatever you need to do. We asked for this 2008 or 9, and I wasn't very involved at the time, so they just kind of said, all right, here's how it can work, and we just dealt with that. Now, more people are finding it and at least making use of the huge number of holds. There was a brief period where it could get holds from anywhere for anything, which was a okay. You could use it for the book club discussion stuff, except it would also transit DVDs. So no one liked that. And I have since seen something somewhere that said it was limited to your local items only. So that's why it's locked down. So the question is, one of the questions, would you like it to be used for things like book club cards? It's got tons of holds available. And one other thing that I'll mention about this account, any of the checkout CERC reports that I make available tend to ignore checkouts to these profiles, because if you check it out to your tech services group, say, because they just have a whole bunch of items that need mending and you don't want patrons' holds piling up on them. I forgot where I was going with that particular scenario. Yes, that was the part. So, you know, if you're checking it out to your tech services group, you don't want to count all those fake CERCs, because that looks bad on your annual report. Bad in one way, I guess. So there's some more considerations.
Is anybody here currently using it?
Yeah.
I think we use it, each department uses it, some use it for programs, to get materials together for programs.
Laura?
I think we use it, I think that's what Candy uses to pull in. We pull in our new books to get the new book sticker and stuff like that renewed. And it's like, off of the items from the 6 different, from all of our locations. Or at least it seems like that's the profile, because she can put like 100 holds.
Yeah, I think that is what she
Yeah.
Is it okay if I speak? I just last week just created an account with this profile. I thought that it would capture our internal, because in-house doesn't work. We can't do the in-house.
There's a different report.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, no, I mean, that's what we were trying to use it for, for capturing, in-house use, so.
Well, and you do specifically have to avoid counting these as CERCs.
Okay.
I just build that into a lot of my reports.
Okay, all right, so we were using, that's why I'm here.
But I got some reports all about in-house counting.
That would be great, thank you.
So does this definition work for everyone? Are there things that we would like to add to it?
Something I would like you to consider, you don't have to switch it, but if the intention would be that it could pull holds from other systems, and that's a goal, then I could actually lock it down to not pull your DVDs and things, which obviously is not a good idea. Or it could be specifically specified that it is local only, which is fine too. I would just like it to definitely be one or the other.
I think it makes more sense to leave it as local only. I think that just saves you from a whole lot of headaches. Because I don't know that I would want someone, someone from another library necessarily taking some of our materials and,
Checking
them out forever. I mean, I just think that seems like a bad practice. So I would be in favor of keeping it as local materials only. That way, too, if you pick the wrong record when you're trying to place these holes and do these things, then you're not going to have, if it only can select from your items, it keeps you from making an error that way, too.
Well, and I think internal should stay internal. I mean, I don't think that you should attach that to a patron's card because keeping track of them because they're in bad standing, but if they paid it off and they didn't change it, then they 100 holds, and that's not fair. Or they may not be sent to the collection agency later, but that's also policy or procedure or whatever, at your library. So I think internal should definitely be internal. I don't think it should be attached to even staff, accounts.
Yeah, so departmental, not individual.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or book discussion. I mean, I know that's not necessarily a department, but, I mean, I can see that because if you had 30 people in your book discussion and we use the book discussion card or status or whatever, that would take care of that also.
Well, if it is kept local.
Oh, no, right, so never mind, forget that.
Yeah,
You
outreach.
probably want to use outreach.
I'd kind of like to go back to the library and do like just a review of how each department is using it, you know, what their purpose is, what their needs are, so. Say one way or another that, yeah.
Okay.
Something we discuss next time.
It is, we will have some unfinished business.
There we
next
go.
time.
Yes. Okay. So now on to the notices language.
Yeah, I've had messages about both the pre-collections notices and the holds notices, and I'm not terribly optimistic that we'll be able to fix either request, because we need to get one set of the notice language for each notice. And the specific concern that I received from one person on the pre-collections was, this is terrifying for a child to receive a letter letting them know that they may be sent to collections if they don't return their materials.
Does the child even know what collections mean?
I was gonna say, how old was said child?
It was a pre-adolescent who brought in the letter and was absolutely frantic. I understand.
But where was the parent?
Well, the parent was currently right behind him having hysterics about you trying to destroy my child and ruin their credit history and things like that.
We have had
Which it
that
wouldn't ruin the child, it would ruin the person who's responsible for the.
It's
Right.
addressed to child.
So from the beginning of Evergreen, we have gone in and edited the notices. We changed the PDF to Word, to the parent of the child's name and the address. Parent's name and dear, who it's addressed to. Because we had those irate parents, how dare you send my whatever toddler this letter? Yeah. So.
Yeah, the 6 notices you've got 4 now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And go that extra step and do
I
all
think
those
if my
edits
daughter
so
gets
that they
older, she's
get.
2.5, I'll read it out loud, make sure she understands.
Where's the book?
Never getting it.
I understand the frustration, and I know when you're on the front line, you have a very angry parent in front of you. That's a difficult discussion to have. But I wasn't able to come up with anything that was fair, that represented to people generally, because we do want to make them aware that this is something that is a possibility.
Is there a way for, when notices are being generated, to pick up the responsible party's name?
Potentially. I put a note here to find out if that's possible.
Lovely.
It might be a bit much to even get their name and everything, but something where I look at the Juve flag and just add the parents of, or parents or guardian of, that kind of thing might be awesome.
That would be a good
So we would have to do all of
compromise.
that.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome that you do.
Oh, yeah.
But like with a bigger system, like I don't think we are able to, I mean, it would take us a lot of time to do that. And that's not something that we
You don't have
do.
6 hours a day to sit there and do that?
I don't do it, but I assume the person that does doesn't have the time to do it, so.
Well, and
Yeah, we solve a lot of
notices
things.
directly to Unique. Do they actually
Most
send
of
out their own
them.
versions then?
Well, yeah,
actually
but
collections?
Unique has a different set of text. So if we go changing these, I need to let Unique know also. Because we don't send them a PDF, we send them what I make the PDF from.
I didn't think children were sent to juveniles.
It's just that the long overdue notice says that if you don't return your materials, you may be turned over to collections. Please contact your library for further information, and that's,
That's.
But Unique does the mailings for some notices, for some libraries.
okay. And the other one was holds, and Portia brought this to my attention, that,
Scholastic books.
sorry. Right now, the language includes information that if you don't pick up your hold, you may be charged a hold expiry fee. It currently only appears in the email notices. Is this something that causes confusion if your library does not currently charge expiry fees? Okay.
Even with the word you may be?
Yeah,
Yes.
like that doesn't apply to
That
us
doesn't
well,
apply to
but
us.
it says you
But it
may,
says
so,
so. Yeah.
Well, we're not charging you anything, so what's your complaint?
You can if you want us to.
Do you want me to make that true? Because you can start paying me right now.
Where it came from was another library I was talking to a staff member, and they didn't realize that it said that because the individual always got texts, and I said, yeah, somebody said that you guys charge fees. And he was like, oh no. And so it was one of our patrons, and it was weird that they had read that same notice for that library that they get for our library, but they only noticed it then. So my guess is they were just reading it more closely. But I asked him, we get a few, because I'm not always there, so they said, we get a few, but people usually just say, oh, do we get charged? And he said, no, and it's fine. So,
Well, how many in the consortium do you charge?
Well, I know Hussey Mayfield does.
Yes.
Actually, that was probably the one I got the most requests for when we wrote the manual billing. That was one of the most popular choices because more libraries are doing it. 'Cause it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Put a book on the shelf and have nobody pick them up.
Yeah.
The materials out.
Sure.
Out of the loop, you've got people on both ends, packaging them, shipping costs.
I mean, I think even though it does kind of freak people out, I think it's good to have that language there in case more people want to get on board with that. It's not such a surprise.
Yeah, like what if
Down the
all of a sudden
line,
you decide in a year from now that you want it and it hasn't been there, and then they're like, oh, what? Huh?
And no one ever said this to me. We always get that, but no one told us. So I think it's better to leave it there, even though it may upset 5 people, than to take it out and then you make a decision as an institution to do it later, and then you have 500 people really mad. That's just my opinion.
well, and it just brought up discussion with our patron because we don't. So she was like, well, what would I be charged and how much would you let me know ahead of time? Like, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, you don't do it. So I didn't have those answers,
$10 for every book that's on my shelf a day.
So, would you mind sharing how you do it?
How we charge the whole fees. When the book comes in, they have 7 days to pick it up. On the 8th day, we pull the books, and if they have not canceled that hold, then we just bill them $1. That's it.
$1 per book or the whole
Per book. So if they have 5 books, they get charged $5.
Do they know that ahead of time?
They're told ahead of time,
And then
and the notice tells them ahead of time.
so you put a note then on the record, or?
Well, it's billed as an expired hold.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a saying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Virginia, do you have a problem collecting that when they come in to pay when they come in to check out books and they're like, oh, I have a $10 fee and $5 of that is for hold I didn't cancel. They don't argue with you or?
Sometimes, but they've been informed. There are signs, and they've been informed. So.
They don't go, well, I was in the hospital and so-and-so was sick and I couldn't get in to get it.
There's a
my shelf
for every rule. Yeah. Well, and there's a sob story for everything. I have
my
sobs
dog died.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we can forgive it, but in general, no, they pay it.
How long ago did you roll that out?
Ever since I started, 2008. So, long time.
I will say I use the Indianapolis Public Library, and they charge me $2 if I don't pick up a hold. So pretty steep.
Do you think it would cut down on? I know when you offer that we're not charging. I do think people just kind of get click happy and they're like, well, place this on hold and this on hold and this on hold. So I don't know if that would make them use the catalog and that privilege more wisely. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but some people just
It would make them
place
think through
15 things on hold and
Well, on the other side, I think it helps them to use their online account more in canceling those holds if they don't want them. It makes them more responsible for what they're doing. At least that's what we've seen. We don't get a ton of complaints about it anymore. We used to.
Yeah.
And I did hear 2 libraries at the round table that I went to that said they were thinking about implementing it.
Well, it sounds like we'll leave that one on the back burner and think about it some more for now, and Jason's gonna look into potentially adding parent or guardian of on the other.
Okay. So on to the training manual updates.
Yes, the training manual hasn't been updated in a while. And the cataloging committee handled this rather well earlier this year. They got together and workshopped it and got an impressive amount of it done in just one day. The cataloging training manual is about 10 times longer than the circulation training manual. So it would not require quite as much effort on your part to participate in something like this. The big thing is going through and getting updated screenshots, because the screenshots we have in there, some of them are from 1.6.
Oh.
Yes. So, these were captured back in 2008, 2009. It's time to update the graphics. So I wanted to see what methods, because I need some help with this. I don't have time to do it all by myself right now. And I'd like to have this up and ready to go by the end of the year, which is approximately when the cataloging committee is targeting having theirs done, just in time for there to be an update, I know, but would this bring us a lot closer? So would you like to try a workshop, face-to-face workshop where everyone brings laptops? Or would you rather that I split up the chapters and people worked on them in pairs or what have you? There's 10 chapters, I think.
I'd vote for workshop.
Workshop, okay.
And I just redid this for my staff, so if you want me to email you what I made, it may or may not save you time.
They already do 3/4 of the way done.
Yeah.
Screenshots?
Yeah, I had to go in and do screenshots and so.
We're working on procedures and policies for our library. That's difficult when you're doing it on your own. I don't like it.
Fair enough.
Then we can take a look at what else needs to be done, and we just pass it. Thank you, Jackson County, big letters across the front.
Yeah.
So if we did do a workshop, would it be like a separate meeting?
Well, we could either try for a separate meeting, or we could try to tack it on to the December committee meeting.
All right.
Thoughts, preferences on that? Because I saw some, yeah, we actually try to do this face-to-face. I'd really like to see how much you've already done with it in case it's...
Maybe it's a moot point.
Yeah, it might be.
There's going to be something missing.
Well, so far, my experience has been there's always something to add, because there are so many little procedures we all do every day and don't even think about that aren't documented. Until we have a new library come on and they start asking me, I'm like, oh yeah, forgot about that. Because that's true. Okay, well, if you'll send me that, I will reach out to all of you via email and we'll see what everyone's schedule looks like and see if we can come up with something then.
On to the fall roundtable.
Yes. What do you want to talk about? When do you want to do it? I know we talked the last meeting about doing one specifically on when is material damaged, when is it reparable, when do you need to weed it for damage, possibly even a little bit just on weeding period. And Virginia sent me her paperwork. Virginia Jensen in Morrisville had put together a presentation on what what criteria they are using. So I do have that. I did not bring it with me today, unfortunately, but I do have that and can share that with you, if that's the direction you want to move forward in.
I think it would be valuable.
Is that the only thing that we would discuss?
That's the only topic I can think of right now that we said specifically as a possibility for the fall roundtable. Is there something else?
Would it include when to bill a customer for damage? Maybe what would be billable damage?
We're going to be building it from scratch, so we can put that in, absolutely.
That might be good.
I think that would be very good as well.
Well, and the only reason I say is because I see the two extremes. I've seen customers billed by their libraries for minor damage, and I've seen other things that went through and they weren't billed for it at all. And we would have billed for it, so.
I definitely think there has to be some sort of consensus. It's just been hard with, like you said, there's such polar opposite
Right, there are
extremes.
two extremes. I mean, something, even if it's a broad middle, something.
And we have issues within our own library because we didn't start charging consistently for damage until we joined Evergreen.
Oh.
So a lot of questionable stuff was being put back in circulation. And if somebody said, oh, no, it was like that, and you'd have to sodden book, well, sure, maybe it was, I guess so.
But it's still bad.
Yeah, we have that, and internally, we have that problem. But I'm not on collection, I can't decide, that is too damaged, what is it? That has to go one level above me. Although, recently we have been doing an inventory of things that come in. And we've been flagging anything with damage to go to that next level, to find that medium. Okay, what can we at check-in staff say is okay to pass, and what has to either be billed as damage or discarded?
We do that. The circulation staff makes the determination, this needs to be looked at for a damaged bill, and then it's sent to the assistant manager in circulation who handles all that. We have standards that we follow, and if they meet those standards, it's billed for damage. So.
Yeah, and when you're switching from, oh, we're gonna let it pass now to billing, all the staff, has to be updated on it. And that base level has to be set.
Right. I agree with you.
We're in that process.
How many of you have written guidelines on that?
It's kind of one of those, I know it when I see it.
Right, yeah.
I'm wondering if that's one of the underlying issues here, trying to get all the libraries to agree on this is damaged, this is reparable. Because, yeah, I do hear from libraries who receive materials, they say these are not up to our standards.
Well, and I think without a written policy, that leaves it up to various staff members who's like doing the pull list saying, oh, well, I don't care, or this looks fine to me, even though, say, Jennifer and I may have a different opinion on that, but if it's a written policy or procedure, it would make it a lot more streamlined.
There's some accountability there too.
Yeah.
I think part of it too is people don't, that are doing the pulling, they don't pick it up and open it and see if pages are loose. They're just grabbing it. They've got 50 more to grab. So I think it's a time issue too. Same with the people who are doing all those transits. I mean, it's a tough job to get it all done. You don't have time to finger through every page and make sure there's no crayon marks on page 74. You just don't have time to do that, So that's where everybody marks. So, I just think it's a time issue, especially when you're doing a lot of transiting. So.
Or the developer who says, well, nobody else has this book. This is an old book. Yes, it looks like this, the pages are all brown,
but
or whatever.
It's the only one in Evergreen.
I don't care. If it's all Pete, I want to get rid of it.
It is hard. Yeah.
Okay, my own collection of pet peeves.
Well, how would it be if I put together a poll for libraries to rank levels of damage to start with? And we can try to build something out of that.
That sounds good.
I think that's great.
Okay,
It
now,
might also not hurt to stress that this is for transited items. So we don't-
yeah, we don't.
Because I
If you have
don't
any
want
other
libraries to
collection
worry
that's-
about
Mhm.
losing their
So it's
level
not-
control and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's transit items, not just.
Yeah, an Evergreen crew's not gonna come into your library and start
Yeah.
making sure everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why is this book on the shelf?
Exactly. We're not doing that. It's just before you send it somewhere else.
Okay.
No, was the last roundtable about how to pack transit something?
We did not have spring roundtable because so many of the committee were involved in the conference. The last roundtable that the circulation community has had was on patron management. There was a session, Scienceville and Mooresville did it on transiting at
At the
the
conference.
conference. Yes.
Was it really well attended? I know I didn't get to go, so
I think that
Oh,
session was,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
really well
I think
attended.
both the circulation and cataloging tracks were just packed all day.
Yeah.
So, okay, I needed some dates. If we're gonna get it on the webinar calendar, I need to do that sooner rather than later.
Okay, let's see here. What do we normally do? Late October, November? I mean, like how far into the fall do we get?
December's gonna be bad because we'll be prepping
Sure.
for the upgrade. So,
When are the last of the regional roundtables over? Is that the 22nd?
October 22nd is the last of the
Okay.
regionals.
I would say after that point.
I know November is kind of a crazy month for everyone, so hopefully everyone has their calendars. The catalog committee has chosen to do theirs on November 6th.
That first week of November.
Seem to have better attendance with morning sessions, 10 to noon, if they can get in, get their opening procedures done.
Would it be in bad form to do it that same week as the cataloging committee?
I think there's something else on the webinar calendar already for the 5th,
Okay.
but otherwise, I'm fine with that week.
Well, the 4th is election day. That was the-
Yeah, that's true, the library.
So that wouldn't be good.
Yes.
And Fridays aren't good.
Mondays are pretty busy.
About the 11th.
The 11th is Veterans Day.
About the 12th.
12th to the 13th.
That's the bookkeeping workshop for anyone who's bookkeeping and budgeting.
Well then.
The plot thickens. Because the further you get towards Thanksgiving, I think that gets hard for people too. What about Tuesday or Wednesday, the 18th or 19th of November? I left, that's right, thank you, okay. So now we're back to, what about the week of October 22nd, or 27th, excuse me? I know that's Halloween week, but.
The 28th and 29th are the advanced cataloging series.
Okay.
About the 30th.
Sorry?
30th?
On Thursday?
I don't have anything on the 30th yet.
I don't either. Would that work for everyone?
October 30th?
I don't
October 30th?
either.
30th.
10 to 12.
Let's do it.
All right. I will confirm with our webinar person that we're available. And anybody want to volunteer to co-speak? You don't actually have to come down to the state library. I'll patch you in as long as you've got a microphone wherever you are.
What time was it?
10 to noon.
10 to noon?
Mm-hmm. And by that point, we should be on standard time, so it'll be Eastern Standard. I forget when the time changes exactly, but sometime.
I think it's the first. I don't know. Anyway.
Daylight savings time ends on Sunday, November the 2nd.
November the 2nd. Wow, they keep moving that back.
Okay.
All right, well, it'll be Eastern Daylight Time then.
Yeah. So did you say you were
Yeah,
volunteer?
I'll volunteer.
You're fine? Okay, great.
I should write that down so I don't forget it.
I volunteered.
I volunteered.
Anybody else feel strongly about damaged materials who want to share their procedures? Okay, how about you, Henry? All right, especially once I get a feel for what people are doing, I think that will be kind of interesting to see. Because I know it definitely runs the gamut as to what different libraries consider reparable and circulatable. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now on to telephonic disclosure. I don't know what that means. It sounds very cryptic.
This is actually from Laura.
Is the policy that if somebody calls to renew, you can discuss due dates, but you can't discuss titles or anything else on the account?
Correct.
The policy seems a little stringent.
Without a library card number.
Hmm?
Don't they have to give you the library card number?
That is with the library card number. They have to give the library card.
I think that we will do, I mean, we won't like read off their list of 42 titles, but if they're like, well, I think I have 3 books that are due today, I can say, oh, well, I see that it's The Notebook, it's blah, blah, blah. I mean, we do, maybe we're against policy, but I mean, we do that, don't we? Do you guys do that?
I don't,
You don't?
because we weren't supposed to.
Sorry, she's a very good rule follower. She got me. I'm not saying we do it often, but I mean, I've heard people say, you know what I mean?
Or people wanting to know their hold items. I don't think it's like that. But anyway, you know, is my item still there? What is it? The title is they won't come in unless it's the one they want, kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know, just or fees. That
Well, it's
are
set up
owed
as a
and what are they
privacy
owed
issue.
on.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if they have the card,
That doesn't mean they have it legitimately.
Right.
Maybe you should verify address, phone number, birthday.
blood type.
Plus, you don't know. Well,
Maybe they still
the parent calling for the child. But you don't know if it's the child with an older sounding voice calling for the parent, or, you know.
I think that's
those
definitely the
kind of
best practice. I mean, I've seen times when, you know, it calls for a little bit more flexible, but.
Yeah. And we don't want to go against.
So I'm just thinking, you know, say someone, you know, husband gets wife's card and calls and says, you know, hi, this is Sherry, and here's my card number. And then you're like, oh, yeah, well, you've got out, you know, the Dummy's Guide to Divorce and how to Find Men. You know, I mean, you're not going to want to tell him. That's a good book. You're not going to want to tell him all those titles. So, you know,
Well,
I could see that.
if you're getting an email reminder that a hold is available and it's going out to who knows whose email address was put on that patron's account, they get the title information, they get all information. So why are we held back from giving that type of information?
Is the thought just that there's more room for error over the phone?
Yes.
And abuse of
I mean,
the system.
you run the risk no matter what. As long as it's accessible remotely, whether via email or phone, you always run the risk that patron privacy will be violated. But the patron has signed off on the email account that you're using. And that's considered privileged information. If they choose to share that email account with someone, we can't do anything about that after the fact. But we do try to limit our personal interactions to those which are least likely to negatively impact the patron privacy.
I think that makes sense. The other thing that you're going to have too, if you open that floodgate and they do have 56 items out on their account, they're going to want you to read every title, and then you're on the phone with them for 15 minutes. You know, so I think that really is just a best practice. I think you open yourself up to a whole lot of other things.
We just get a lot of complaints and a lot of, oh, you're not helpful, and that goes to the director, and that goes to the board, and, you know, where can you be helpful, and where do you have to stay?
Can you train them to check their account online? Or not train them,
Well,
but I mean, give them,
I know.
sorry, that came out wrong.
That they should have the ability to check online.
Essentially.
And then everybody doesn't use the computers, and everybody does, you know. Yeah. So,
I suppose, I mean, it's not policy, but I suppose if someone is really determined and was able to provide you with a driver's license number, I mean, you have the same scenario where someone picked up a wallet and was just trying to play with it.
Maybe you could password protect their patron profile and they have to give you this specific password to get any information from you over the phone.
That sounds scary.
It does.
They're likely to give you whatever password it is that you described there.
That's very
You
true.
can't see it now.
No, but you can,
I do, it's true.
you can test, there's a
You can
test
test
password
password.
option under the more button inside a patron account.
It's very
If
true.
they could give you their library password, then that was the verification.
and there's still the potential for
Yes.
use because they post it, they leave it right by their keyboard, or what, or in their wallet with their card.
It's not gonna be
Depends on
100% foolproof, like
No.
nothing is, I mean, you just can't make it that way, but.
So
I don't know.
I kind of would like to err on the side of being more kind and helpful, but. I don't know.
Well, normally, when the customer calls in to renew something, we ask them, can you give me the title? They're
Right.
usually just calling to renew
And
one
just
thing.
like if they call up, do they have a certain hold available for them? I'll say, well, you guess, and I'll tell you. I can't tell you the title, but you tell me some titles, and I'll say yes or no.
Well, you
But,
could just
um,
say, well, what title are you looking for? Then you don't have to say, can you guess, or I can't tell you, you know? You gotta give it a positive slant, you know? If you maximize the things we can't do for you, they're gonna remember that. Whereas if you minimize it and just don't say that, then people are much more happy.
And
So I think your
as far-
staff might have the opinion that this is stupid. And if they have the opinion that this is stupid and we should be able to tell them whatever, then it's gonna come
And
out
a lot
that
of
way.
people don't understand that it's privacy issues.
Mhm.
Like, so if they want to know how much they need to pay on their account, and they want you to tell them over the phone, should you be able to? So they, oh, I need to know how much money to bring, or whatever.
Tell them to bring $100 and that will cover it.
Cover everything.
Yeah, give them a heart attack in the process.
What do you think you owe?
I would just say that, well, there are some fees on the account. I can't disclose how much, but we'll be happy to talk to you in person whenever you come and ask for me. You know, if you give them that little bit of a personal touch, normally people are satisfied with that. And normally they just want someone who will listen to them for 5 seconds. I mean, that's what I find is if you just listen, they tend to.
So I'm getting the feeling from the group that we don't want to loosen up the policy. It's,
I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to happen right now.
we'll err on the side of being more cautious with privacy rights.
Mhm.
That's fine with me, but I've had people get in trouble because they don't finesse as well over the phone as other people.
Do you all really think there's people out there trying to find out what other people are reading? I mean, seriously?
Only in broken relationships, yes, because there are people who will take somebody else's card even and check out a bunch of stuff just so that their ex will get in trouble with owing a lot. Yeah. Or dads come in all upset because their child, you know, from a split, you know, or whatever else.
Well, or I used to see teenagers would check out stuff and their parents would lose it because they felt whatever the child had selected was inappropriate, but the parent didn't come to the library with them.
Or, you're never going to use this, just delete this card, they're never going to use the library again, you know, just, yeah.
See ya. Okay, so is that a done deal? All right,
I think we're
let's
leaving
go
it
on
as
to
is for
claimed
now.
and returned.
Just so I can go back and say it was fully discussed and it stays the same.
Claim return procedures. Laura, was this for you as well?
Yes. Perhaps, and so is theft, and now can I remember what the claim return procedures was?
We maybe wanted to know how long people went before they
Yes,
converted it.
right. Because I believe in training, it was, don't market claim return immediately. Do searches for a week or two, and then market claim return. Is that what anybody else remembers? You know, that you don't rush to claim it return immediately at the minute that they claim it, that patron says they believe they returned it.
I think it depends on how much time is left on the item, you know what I mean?
And
If it has
to
a
go like
max-
$10 in fees, that kind of thing. Right, that was given as an exception, that if they were gonna max out on fines, claim it returned right away.
I
But,
don't know, I can't remember honestly, I'd have to look at the.
and I don't think it was in
Is that a
policies
feature?
and features, I think that was something that came out of a training session, but I couldn't find my notes.
What I meant is that, like, say they come in and they say, you know, I returned this item, and you look at the account, it's still on there, and they still have 2 more weeks with the item, then I just say, well, you know, it's not due for 2 weeks, why don't you take a look around home, look under your car seats, look, you know, wherever, we'll look here, and then they still have that amount of time before anything's
Right,
gonna happen.
that's an option to
Yeah.
do the renews. We don't actually start searching until we make it a formal complaint. We get the form filled out, we know what to go search for. Just because we have a formal complaint doesn't mean we have marked it claim return in their account. But we wanted to start doing it when they formally complain that they returned the item. So that, once again, crabby patrons don't come back, and, you know, I'm finding, this has happened to me before where I've returned stuff and it's on.
I think more libraries go ahead and market claims return when the patron makes the claim.
Right. Okay.
Because then it stops accruing fines, and that helps with the cranky patron
Right.
concern as well.
But you only get so many.
That's true.
Really,
So,
yeah.
that's the thing.
Except unless you belong to a certain library, because I've seen people with -4 or 5
Oh,
returns. Claim returns. Where people,
It stops you
where
at
the
3.
library. No, they've been, you know, overridden.
That's the problem.
Tricky.
Yeah.
I've never
Well, and
tried
there
to
was
put
also-
one in free, so.
There was also a period of time where claims returned that didn't have fines on them would not display at all. They just disappeared.
Oh.
So if patrons had a lot of these pile up in that period, and then I fixed that, and all of a sudden they show up again, it might look like they've got 7 or 8. You never know.
We have a procedure where for our materials, we extend an additional renewal. We'll look for it during that time period.
So even if they're at 0 renews, you'll extend an
Absolutely.
additional.
Yes. And then we have set procedures that we have to look for it a set number of times internally, and then the customer is asked to also look at home. Majority of the time it is found with that additional renewal, but if it's not, and if we really feel like it needs to be marked as claims return, then that judgment's made by the staff person who's been working with the customer and with the assistant department head in circulation, because he does the billing. So either it's billed as lost or it's marked as claims returned. And it has to go through the process before we do that.
But some people do market claim return right away. It's not a set policy that we have to wait 2 weeks. It's a judgment.
But if you are quick to do it that way, and you do have those limits, then they might, you know, the 3 claims return, then they are going to rack that up quickly.
Right.
Personally, I think it's better to err on the side of you look, I'll look, then do it. But that's just me, so, you know.
It also gives them an incentive.
Right.
To go back
To go back and look,
and
otherwise
check.
it's just gone
Right.
off their account.
I have never had anybody get more than 3 claim returns at a time.
Jason, if they returned a claims return item, it does come off of their account.
Yes.
Right.
But you have to go in manually.
No,
And
once
No,
you
no,
check
just
the
when you
site
check it
out,
in.
It comes off.
Force the
It comes off of their account, but their claim returns count in their edits
Oh,
is still
yeah,
showing.
that-
So
just
you
that
have to
little
manually
number.
go in and undo that,
Probably.
because it would just keep counting, wouldn't it?
I haven't tested it, but I do know that it's not, obviously it automatically goes up.
Yeah.
I have not tested what happens when you return a claims returned item. It might go
I
down.
know that it comes off of where you see on the left panel, where you see it 0 claim returns. So I would imagine that that hard count in their profile would keep going up if you didn't go in and manually take care of it. Maybe that's why I was thinking this one library lets their patron get multiple open pay, because they don't go in and manually adjust it.
Well, and a part of that is the idea of having a long history. If you have a patron that regularly abuses the claims return procedure, I think that's why that one has to be handled manually. So that you can see over time, well, this person's racked up 43 in the last. This is a continuing issue.
It would actually be good to not adjust that then.
It might be good not to adjust it.
That way you know who's sort of abusing the claims returned thing. Like, yeah, they may only have 3 actual claims returned on their thing down at the bottom, but then they bring, they just use it to randomly bring things back late without getting.
And it is possible that that's the intention of that field. Hard to say.
Anything else with claims returned? Okay. On to theft.
People
Do you
stealing.
stop people that you're suspicious of and say, open your backpack?
Are you allowed to?
Are you allowed
Do you have a
to?
security
I have no.
system?
We have a pretend security system.
A lot of libraries have them. I see.
We have one that likes to beep.
Are turned off, yes. Because it
Ours-
was giving a
ours
lot of
still
false
beep,
negatives.
But we do get a lot of false negatives, and so our staff tend to, like, our adult relations staff and youth services, we can't see the front doors, but usually the adult staff just say, oh, come on. So really, it's a pretend system as well. I'm not saying that's best practice or a good thing, I'm just saying that's what happens.
Do you have a security system?
Pretend.
Oh, pretend.
No, on our newer movies, we have the red button.
Well, I was thinking more if you have security cameras, because things that.
Oh, no, those are, no, they're too expensive.
If it was
Yeah.
for like safety issue. Somebody would police and you, and then they.
Yeah, we don't.
No, that makes sense.
But when you see somebody walking out the door with a CD or DVD case size, bulge off their back pants, or and labels peeled off.
Oh, well, that's sort of fun.
I think until you can prove it or catch them in the act of doing it, I would be very reluctant to ask anyone to. I wouldn't do that.
In the past, we did have
You
our
can't
gates
do that,
out, and I did have somebody over the bag we're hauling out. Oh, I didn't know those were in there, but not now that we don't have active gates and they're peeling labels anyway.
You'd almost want to turn them back on and just have everybody come back who beeped regardless. I mean, if that would.
They actually, I don't know if they still even put the security strips in the material.
Oh, wow. Because we have security, and if it beeps, the procedure is that we just let them know we can help them at the desk, and then we check all the items to make sure that they're checked out, and demagnetize them so that they won't set off security again. But we're not allowed to touch their personal items. If they hand us their bag with their library materials in it, and they've given us the permission to work through those items, then we can, but there are some legal issues.
Yeah, you can't.
I'm not gonna
That's
take
what
a
I figured
lady's
you couldn't
purse
have.
and, I mean, I know it might be the size of a suitcase, but I can't search through it.
And you don't
Right.
want to because of liability
Yeah.
issues. We had to go through that and talk about it when we installed our security several years ago, so you have to be very
Yeah,
careful.
when I'm saying I found in, they searched through it. I just noticed it.
Oh.
I didn't touch their things.
Can you, if you think that they've taken something, can you ask them if you could help them check something out?
And
I
they
mean,
can
that
act
just
nervous
is-
and whatever, but
They
you know, you
can.
still lose it.
Unfortunately, I think that's just the cost of doing
It's
business
just
without
that.
security.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, you're gonna
Unless you
have
wanna
that.
call a police officer every time that you
No,
think
yeah.
somebody's acting suspicious, but.
We have security cameras in our library, and we used to have hand soap dispensers on the wall, but the kids were breaking them, and then they would just like drip down the wall or anything, so we just put the hand soap in, the little bottles. Those are regularly stolen. Rolls of toilet paper are stolen constantly.
I mean, my purse was stolen out of my office, so, I mean, it's gonna happen.
We lose
Yes,
DVDs out of cases, and I don't know how they do it because we have cameras in 2 places, and they still can get them. I mean, I don't know how they do it because there'll be several people like all tucked in a corner or there, and you can't see it. We have cameras right on them, and you don't know who's doing it. And we still lose DVDs. Unless we keep them behind the desk, and people bring the cases, and then it requires a lot of staff members when you've got one person here asking for 10, and the person behind them wants 10, and the next person wants 10. You're gonna have to have more than one staff, going and getting those 10 for each person. It's just, so it's like have at them, because, I mean, it just gets to the point that you're gonna take them, and then they'll say, well, we don't have this movie anymore. I'm sorry. We bought it once and somebody stole it, so they didn't return it, so we just don't have it anymore, so I'm so sorry for your luck, but, that's just the way it is, so you have to start watching each other, I guess, get on your people to start returning those movies.
So my question was answered though, as far as, no, there's nothing you can do. They may be acting suspicious. You may see that lovely shape in the back of their shirt, but there's nothing you can do.
Oh, we still are newspaper.
Not
Legal risks.
Right.
Yeah.
Legally, there's nothing we can do.
I mean, you can talk to your
It's only come up recently because, like I say about the stuff you found in stacks in field. We recently, had our reference desk positioned so that they can see anybody who is down the video aisle, down the CD aisle. And it helped for a while. But they're getting bolder.
It's fun when they still empty DVD cases too. You keep your DVDs behind the surface.
Oh, they don't know, they still
Go right out with the DVD case. No DVD. There's a DVD in it. We had that happen several times.
That's awesome. And not that the case goes missing, but that they're not that smart.
I think it may have been one of the committee's libraries. We got a security case, DVD, no, whatever we got. No, it can't be. It couldn't have been us because it was a movie. With the case still locked.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
We get this with playaways all the time.
That's what it was. A playaway came in with the case still locked.
That's
There was
awesome, not awesome.
You could open it to use it.
We don't have that.
You just use it when you take it home.
They have to
No,
open it
no, we
before
have
it
to
gets
send it
shipped.
back.
It's sent.
Before it transits, it should be.
I guess that type of security, but our library can't afford to go back security case all our materials.
I guess you kind of have to take into account how much money are you losing in materials per year?
Right.
And how much would that
Right.
cost? And
Yeah,
if
the
it's
cost
still lower,
benefits.
then, it's just kind of a gamble you
Plus the
take.
shelving space for security case.
Okay, anything else with theft? Think we're good? All right.
Do you guys have a recommendation for wall replacement?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
The executive committee can appoint someone, but I would appreciate having someone in mind that you'd like to work with. Or a couple of someones in case people aren't available.
Do you know if anyone's interested?
I wasn't sure until today whether or not we needed to fill the gap, so.
Because we had some members who just left, so I don't know if any of them were interested in rejoining.
I could try them again, certainly, Virginia, Judy, and,
Karen.
sorry,
Karen.
right.
And again, it might be bad to open it up, just to see who's interested.
Okay.
Somebody might be there that's been wanting to do it, maybe has ideas or thoughts or something.
Maybe the round tables have opened up some interest.
Could be.
And we already have a lot of new faces. So for a lot of you, this is your first meeting. First official meeting.
Okay. So, if there isn't anything further, the only under announcements we have is that our next meeting will be December the 16th here at Greenwood yet again. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion. I'll second.
All right, do you have to vote on that?
Sure.
Yeah? You guys want to go?
Aye.
And of course, you need my email address, right?
Yes.
Or are they?
I don't think so. I was just gonna Google your library and then talk to you a little bit.